My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 281 fight card, giving you my picks, my predictions, and my bets. But before I jump in, let's talk about what an incredible success UFC Vegas 64 was. Both Jacob and I are up massive units from all of our bets. Those are the free bets and the premium member bets. Jacob does a live stream almost every Saturday, a fight companion. And for you guys, he places bets on every single fight as it goes on, and he's up 20-something units. I think the official tally was 25 units based off those live stream bets. So make sure you watch those on Saturdays, if not for anything other than some fun. Prize Picks hit. Underdog Fantasy hit. Knockout Kings hit. The member parlay, we do a premium member parlay. It's a parlay every week only for premium members. It's 2-leg, a 3-leg, and a 4-leg. All of those hit. Last night was a resounding success. So become a premium member. Go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. You get every single one of our bets the minute we place them, which gets you that closing line value. For example, Mario Batista, we got that at minus 270. He closed at like minus 370. Giant gap in that line there, but premium members saw it when we did, placed it when we did, and that gap alone pays for months, if not years worth of premium membership. But you also get a DraftKings optimizer, all sorts of fantasy tools, and everything else you could ever need to make money watching fights. And finally, if you want $50 for free, all you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 different betting partners. Sign up with any one of them, make a deposit, and we will send you $50 as a thank you. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, we'll send you $50. It's that simple. It's literally just affiliate marketing, but instead of keeping it all for ourselves, we're thanking you and rewarding you. Let's jump right in. UFC 281 is a pretty stacked card. I'm very excited about the main event, and the undercard is also solid as well. Opening up, we got Carlos Ulberg taking on Negumereanu. Carlos Ulberg is a world-class kickboxer who transitioned to MMA about 10 years ago, maybe 11, something like that. But he only has 7 MMA fights. He's listed as having a 100% takedown defense, but that is misleading because he has only had to defend one single takedown attempt in the UFC, and that was against Kennedy and Chukwu. He was able to show us how well-rounded he was in his decision over Fabio Cherant, though, because he went 2 for 2 on takedowns. His most recent fight was a KO win over Tafan Chukwu in 1 minute. Negumereanu is a striker who is incredibly durable. He throws everything crazy with bad intentions. He pressures forward, throws mostly looping shots, and he just stands right in front of you. He relies on his chin and his power, probably a little too much. He does have a backup plan if he's on the wrong side of exchanges, which are slam style and muscle bullyish takedowns. They're not clean, but he's so tough and he's so strong that he can force them. He's coming off that second round KO over Ihor Pereira, where he went 2 for 3 in takedown attempts and had 4 minutes of control time. This card is loaded with tricky fights, and this is another one because Carlos is by far the better striker, but Nick is ridiculously durable, and he also throws heat. Nick's going to be the more well-rounded fighter overall, but now that we've seen Carlos work in takedowns, we have to assume that he could defend them as well. Nick had trouble with Kennedy's reach, and I think Carlos's superior technique and range can give him some trouble. I'm going against everything I basically just said because I think that I'm going to pick Negumereanu here because his chin is ridiculous, his takedowns are live, and he throws heat as well. So I'm going to go with the more rounded MMA fighter in this fight, but I need him to do more than just straight kickbox against the world-class kickboxer. Then we got Julio Arce taking on Montel Jackson. Julio Arce is a striker with solid volume and impressive defense. He's able to come forward with power and still counter-strike when things come back his way. He utilizes both his hands and his feet, and he moves really well. The problem is, though, that when he gets hit, his chin does not always hold up. He has wrestling in his back pocket when he fights better strikers, and so far his takedown defense has held up at 94%. Montel Jackson's a pretty good wrestler with solid striking and legit power. He's good everywhere, and he has a resume full of knockouts, decisions, and even submissions. He's coming off the decision win over JP Buys last year where he had 4 takedowns, 4 knockdowns, and 10 minutes of control time. His only losses are to people who can out-wrestle him and beat him at his best thing, which is the wrestling. Julio Arce has that 94% takedown defense, which is impressive. He defended takedowns in more than half of his fights, including 12 against Dan Ige. And this entire fight's going to come down to Julio's takedown defense. I'm sure he's going to be able to outstrike Montel just technique-wise, but he could have issues with Montel's power. If Montel comes in throwing heat and diving for legs, he should be able to win this fight. But if he's going to try to keep this technical and go strike for strike on the outside, he's going to lose. I trust Montel's takedowns. I have him winning this fight. The takedown prop lines with Prize Picks and Bet Online are going to be interesting here. And if you don't know, Prize Picks is daily fantasy. Check that out for sure. Bet Online is the only sports book. They do 16 different prop bets per fight. And one of them is who's going to get more takedowns. Another one is a straight up takedown line. So they may say Montel Jackson, 2 takedowns. And you can bet the over or bet the under. So we'll see when that drops. Those drop on Tuesdays. I will likely jump on that. We've had a lot of success betting on those takedown lines. Then we got Mike Trizano taking on Seung Choi. Mike Trizano is an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's a fun forward pressure striker with some real power and lots of energy. He keeps his power late into fights, and he's just constantly pressuring forward. He's a calculated striker who does a good job of mixing in power and speed. He's a full year removed from his last win, though. He has hit a bit of a skid, but in that fight, it was against Ludwig Klein. He showed really impressive fight IQ. He basically sat on the stool, knew he was down, and said out loud, I need to turn it up to win this round. And that's exactly what he did. He's coming off that loss to Lucas Almeida, where he was dropped twice and eventually knocked out in the third. Seung Choi is a very clean striker. He fights tall and he throws with solid power. He does a really good job utilizing leg kicks and at times uses them like a jab. He's a technical striker who sets up his takedowns well, and he uses them to clinch rounds. He's coming off back-to-back losses. The first of those was a submission to Alex Caceres, where he was sort of winning, right? He won that first round, but he was submitted in the second without even giving up a takedown. He took his back on his feet. Most recently, he lost a split decision to Josh Cooleybow, where he showed how ridiculously durable he is. And this should be a fun fight with 2 forward pressure strikers. Trizano could be the more technical fighter in this matchup, but I think Choi is more well-rounded overall, has higher volume, and he's more durable. I like Choi to win this, but I mean, it's likely going to be a firefight, so I think it's closer than the odds are telling you, and I'm not sure what to do betting-wise because this should be a really fun fight. I mentioned BetOnline does those takedown lines. They do the exact same thing with significant strikes. So we'll take a look. We'll find our spots when most of these props drop on Tuesday. Then we got Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She rose from the dead in her last fight, and she's taking on Silvana Gomez Juarez. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is a very good striker who at one point was a legit contender. She has some solid wins in the UFC, including one against former champ Rose Namajunas in 2016. She's a very good kickboxer with solid technique and power for the division. She averages more than 5 significant strikes per minute and has maintained a solid 75% takedown defense. She just broke a 5-fight skid with a second win over Felice Herrig. And the fact that she only has 2 wins in the last 4 years and both are against Felice Herrig is actually pretty interesting here. Silvana Gomez Juarez is a striker who likes to use her reach to keep people on the outside of her strikes. She has genuine power in her hands and throws very heavy leg kicks. She's coming off the win over Liang Na, where she showcased her insane power and takedown defense. And that was her first win in the UFC, but in 3 fights, she has had 2 knockdowns and has never left the first round. And this is a striker versus striker matchup. Silvana's losses are all grappling based, and while Karolina is well-rounded enough to grapple, her submissions are more opportunistic, and she isn't really looking for takedowns. And I'm having a hard time with this fight because Karolina is likely the more technical striker, punch for punch, and I can't even lean on age because they're both 37 years old. But I do think Silvana has more raw power, more durability, and while she's not going to be the more technical striker or the more well-rounded fighter, I just had this gut feeling that she's going to win this fight. And even though Karolina's 5-fight skid was against top-tier competition, it's just hard to ignore it. The pick here is going to be Gomez Juarez. I encourage you to fade this pick. Don't bet on this fight. You don't need to bet on every single fight, especially one like this. They're pretty evenly matched. You got a tried and true vet like Karolina who could win, could look like she did in her 5-fight losing streak. Or you got Silvana Gomez just dropping people left and right. So fade the pick, just watch the fight and enjoy. Then we've got Ottman Azaitar making his comeback after a few years away, and he's taking on Matt Frevola. Ottman Azaitar is a powerful striker who thrives in the chaos, and he's inside the pocket. He just absolutely loves being there. If you come forward, he plants his feet and fires away. If you don't come forward, well, then he will. He'll walk you down with leg kicks and punches, just looking to set up something big. He only has 2 fights in the UFC, but he has an insane 9-2 strike differential with 2 first-round KOs. You absolutely want to get him to the ground, but that could prove difficult because of his solid takedown defense. He's making his comeback after 2 years away, which always makes these breakdowns tricky. Matt Frevola is an incredibly tough wrestler who never stops coming forward. He does have technical striking, but that doesn't stop him from charging forward and throwing big looping shots, or in some cases, even sloppy back fists. He averages almost 3 takedowns per fight with a low 37% accuracy. He has 12 takedowns in 8 fights, with his most impressive performance being his most recent win against Gennaro Valdez, where he had 4 knockdowns and the eventual KO. I hate having to pick guys who haven't fought in a few years. It's always hard to know what they're going to look like. To know what they've done in the last few years off is just tricky, right? Ottman Azaitar, without the layoff, absolutely smokes Matt Frevola. With the layoff, I'm not sure. I have to assume, as I always do, that he's prepared, he's ready to go. So I'm gonna have to pick Ottman Azaitar here. I'm gonna probably wait to place some bets. We'll see with the weigh-ins, but you know, when the props drop on Tuesday, if it's minus 300 or better, I will likely grab Ottman Azaitar inside the distance, decision, no action. Because if Matt Frevola wins, I think it's just going to be a decision. But if Ottman wins, he's probably going to put Matt Frevola out. The only sportsbook partner that we have that offers that inside the distance, decision, no action bet is BetOnline. So if you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, we will send you $50 as a thank you. Then we got Andre Petroski taking on Wellington Turman. Andre Petroski is a very good wrestler with great takedowns. His stand-up is just okay, but it's loaded with power shots that are there to set up those takedowns. He's absolutely a wrestler, and his wrestling is dominant. It's fast, and it's in your face. Andre has looked good in his last few fights, but we did watch him lose to Brian Battle on The Ultimate Fighter because he didn't set up those takedowns well enough. He's coming off that win over Nick Maximov, where he was able to snatch up an anaconda out of a scramble when Nick took sort of a sloppy first shot. Wellington Turman is a very solid grappler whose striking could use some work, but it is mostly there to set up his grappling. He's slick on the ground and always looking to sweep or submit. His striking is not very powerful, but he does have solid entries, and he uses his footwork pretty well. He's coming off the very impressive submission win over Misha Serkinov, which was, black belt versus black belt. That was very, very nice. And it was old school BJJ armbar from his back, and it was against another high-level grappler. So again, that was really impressive. And before I give my pick here, there's a few random things to note. First, Andre Petroski is part of that Renzo Gracie Philly team, and for a very long time, they've been bragging about all of our UFC fighters are undefeated. And they have literally just all been going down in the last couple of weeks. Every single one of them has been losing. And second, Wellington Turman is training with Glover and Alex Pereira. They got Dominick Reyes out there as well. Listen, both Glover and Pereira have got title shots in the next couple of weeks. So I have to imagine Wellington is getting incredible grappling in, incredible striking in, and he's really training at a high level. I'm still going to pick Andre here because his wrestling is absolutely better and his BJJ is solid. I think he's going to get the takedowns, avoid the submissions, but I can't express enough how impressive Wellington's armbar over Misha Serkinov was. And if that's just chilling in his back pocket, any little mistake from Andre Petroski can cost him the win. This is another fight where we're going to see what that takedown line is. And BetOnline is going to drop a takedown line on Andre Petroski, and we're either going to do more or we're just going to do who's going to get more takedowns in this fight. If you want to see the bet we place the very second that we place it before that line goes wild, become a premium member at WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10 a month, and you get instant access to every single one of our bets the second we place them. And timing is everything in this game because we've gotten plenty of lines at like minus 150, even plus money. Then it's completely flipped, taken off. And then all of a sudden that bet doesn't look so good on a Friday when you have to pay double or triple to get your money back. WeWantPicks.com at the top. Click, become a member. It's only $10 a month. $2.50 a week. A mediocre weekend covers years worth of membership. And that takes us to Erin Blanchfield and Molly McCann. Erin Blanchfield's a nasty grappler who also's got some solid striking, but the striking is not her path to victory. Using her wrestling to get on top and work her grappling from there is her path to victory. Erin is stupid young and she's still cleaning things up, but she's improving quickly and she can be a contender this time next year. She averages almost 6 significant strikes per minute and 4 takedowns per fight, but she is coming off that win over JJ Aldrich where she went 0 for 4 in takedown attempts, but still managed to get the submission. Molly McCann is a fun, aggressive striker. She's more of a boxer than kickboxer and likes to fight dirty in the pocket. She doesn't have much power, but she is coming off 2 incredible spinning back elbow knockouts. She has nice takedowns that are well-timed to secure the rounds. She's mostly a decision fighter, but technically sound and plenty of cardio to push a pace. And this fight is so much closer than the odds. And I'm telling you right now that Erin Blanchfield is the most likely parlay buster on this card. She's very dangerous in grappling exchanges, but she also struggled in her last fight. And while that was only one fight, you need to recognize how gritty Molly McCann is. Molly is the exact type of fighter that could break a young fighter like Erin Blanchfield. While I do think Erin's going to win, she's the pick. I think she will get the takedowns. I think she's going to control the fight. I don't think she's going to get the submission. I am not putting Erin Blanchfield in a parlay, and the bet might actually be Molly McCann inside the distance decision, no action, because Molly McCann might be able to avoid getting taken down and avoid the submissions. And if she stops Erin Blanchfield, I'll get paid. If she loses the decision, I'll get a refund. The only way I lose that bet is if Molly McCann gets stopped. And I think she's got the experience, the grit. Let me know in the comments. This might be, maybe I'm way off here and you guys think that Blanchfield's the lock of the century here, but she did not look good against JJ Aldrich. And Molly McCann is an animal. So this is going to be very interesting. 23 versus 32 years of experience, tons of grit difference between them. I'm picking Erin Blanchfield. She's the better, more talented fighter with the higher ceiling. But at this point in the career, we've seen some young prospects get beat up and broken by these older gritty. Look at freaking Chase Hooper a few weeks ago. This could be Chase Hooper all over again. So we'll see what happens here. Then we got Dominick Reyes buried in the prelims against Ryan Spann. Dominick Reyes is a former title challenger who a lot of people think beat John Jones. But since that title loss, he's been knocked out in back-to-back fights. Style-wise, he is primarily a striker who has okay power, but he's got clean technique and timing. He's got 2 takedowns in the UFC with a low 28% accuracy, but a very solid 80% takedown defense. And it's easy to say he's on a 3-fight skid and counting him out, but those are 3 losses to literally the current and former light heavyweight champions. The last 3 light heavyweight champions, in fact. Ryan Spann is absolutely massive for this weight class and has all the power you'd think he was if you just looked at him. He's 6'5", jacked, and has a 79-inch reach. He's very dangerous, with 5 of his 7 UFC wins being by stoppage. Although he is full of power and he is dangerous, he's a bit slow for the weight class, and he'll, just never be the first one to a jab. If you can move around him or shoot under him, you could absolutely piece him up on the outside or have success grappling. And this is a tricky fight to break down because Dominick Reyes is coming off 2 knockout losses in a row. He's been out for a while. Ryan Spann is probably the hardest hitter that Dominick has ever fought. On the flip side of that, Dominick Reyes has the higher output, the better striking differential, and the speed advantage. And he's been training with Glover and Alex Pereira, at least for a portion of this camp. And it's hard to weigh heavily on Dominick's last 3 losses because they were to Jiri Prochazka, current champion, Jan Blachowicz, the former champion, and John Jones, the former champion, greatest of all time. All 3 of those people would beat Ryan Spann. Right now, the odds are sitting at Dominick being a 2-1 favorite, but do not spend your money on that. This should be an absolute coin toss pick'em fight. Dominick, his chin, we know his chin is suspect. We know his chin is suspect. We know how hard Ryan Spann hits. There's just absolutely no reason for you to be betting on Dominick Reyes at these odds. So sit tight. Let's see what the line does. Let's see what the weigh-ins look like. Dominick's been gone for a little while. So I'm going to hold off on a pick here. Watch our Tuesday night breakdown. Maybe I'm more confident then. But right now, we're just going to sit still and see what happens. Then we got Renato Moicano taking on Brad Riddell. Renato Moicano is a high-level BJJ black belt. He's also a technical striker that doesn't really have stoppage power, but does have nice volume and a good pace. The concern, though, is his chin. While Moicano can hang with the better strikers as far as technique is concerned, his chin doesn't always hold up to the test. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight with a 48% accuracy, but he's coming off a very short notice loss to RDA, where he won the striking exchanges, but he was taken down 5 times. Brad Riddell is a great striker with nice volume and big power. He's the former Tiger Muay Thai striking coach, but he has evolved into a true MMA fighter. He has at least 1 takedown in 5 of his 6 UFC fights, with 5 takedowns against Drew Dober in that win. He's coming off the very quick loss to Jalen Turner, where he was submitted on a takedown attempt in under a minute. And this card is loaded with incredibly close fights, and this is another one. Renato Moicano is incredibly dangerous, but if you look at his non-Rafael dos Anjos losses, they're mostly to strikers. Jose Aldo, the Korean Zombie, and Rafael Fiziev were all just outstriking him and just putting him away or about to put him away. And while those are all to ranked guys at the time, it still does bring in questions about his chin. Brad is an incredible striker, and while he isn't one-punch KOing people in the UFC, he should be the better striker. We've seen him in the past mix in takedowns, defend takedowns. So I think this stays standing. I think Brad is definitely the better striker. I think he's going to win this fight. I'm probably going to wait for props to drop, see what I'll bet on here, but I got Brad Riddell winning this fight. And even if he works in his own takedowns, I think if he protects his neck, he can sort of stay safe here. Then we've got Dan Hooker taking on Claudio Puelles. Dan Hooker is back at lightweight after being knocked out cold by Arnold Allen at featherweight back in March. Style-wise, he's a very good striker with an enormous amount of heart. He's a long-rangey kickboxer who uses his kicks well to manage distance. He's coming off that loss to Arnold Allen and Islam on short notice, but before that, he did have that win over Nasrat Haqparast, where we saw him work in wrestling really well, which was sort of a new dynamic. In fact, he had more takedowns in that fight than his first 13 UFC fights combined. Claudio Puelles is a fantastic grappler coming off back-to-back knee bar wins. And actually, he's got 3 knee bar wins in the UFC, which I'm pretty sure is a record. He's only 26 years old, and he has a good amount of experience. He's a grappler who uses kicks to keep the distance, and he's never out of a fight. He averages around 3 takedowns per fight, but he does have a negative striking differential of almost 2 to 3. Claudio Puelles is a killer on the ground, but with only a 38% takedown defense, I think he struggles to get it there. You have to go back to his 2016 fight where Dan Hooker was taken down more than once. And in his 33-fight career, he has only been submitted 1 time, and that was by Islam. I like Dan to win the striking exchanges. I like him to keep the fight standing, and he's going to get some of his mojo back. The bet here, though, is absolutely going to be Claudio Puelles inside the distance decision, no action, because I don't see Dan Hooker getting a stoppage, and if Claudio Puelles does, he's going to win by stoppage. He'll get a submission, or he'll knock out Dan Hooker, who's maybe getting a little chinny. So that's going to be the bet. When those props drop, again, become a premium member. You will see it as soon as we place it. If not, you're going to have to wait till Friday after that long line movement. So Dan Hooker's the pick. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. I know a bunch of you absolutely fading him big time, but not me, not this week. And that takes us to Frankie Edgar, UFC legend Frankie Edgar taking on Chris Gutierrez. And Frankie is an all-time great. He's a Hall of Famer with a Hall of Fame career that's hard to match. He's a former lightweight champion of the world, and he has had absolute wars with Gray Maynard, BJ Penn, Jose Aldo, and so many more. Frankie spent the majority of his career at 155, but at 155, he cut no weight. He just walked in and was what he was. He was always the smaller guy, but that helped him develop his speed, his timing, and his in-and-out style to avoid other people's power. His feet never stop moving, but he is starting to show his age. This is his 4th fight at 135 pounds, where he's had mixed success. He beat Pedro Munoz, was caught with a flying knee against Sandhagen under a minute, and more recently, he's coming off that devastating front kick KO by Chito Vera, but Frankie was having real success in that fight, and he likely was going to win that decision if he was able to survive another minute. Go check out those scorecards. That was his fight, but then he got caught, obviously. Chris Gutierrez is a very good kickboxer with great low kicks and cage control. He's got great volume and solid cardio to keep up that pace. There's no secrets as to what his game plan is. He plots forward with leg kicks and straight punches to follow. He's got good takedown defense, which allows him to be loose on his feet. He's coming off that impressive spinning back fist KO over Dana Bagarai in March. Chris Gutierrez is more than a 2-1 favorite in this spot, and I get it. Frankie's 41 years old. He's been knocked out in 4 of his last 5 losses, and his most recent loss is going to be an unfortunate highlight forever. But again, Frankie has had success in these fights. In that Cheeto fight, he outlanded Cheeto in total strikes, significant strikes. He had 3 takedowns and a full round of control time. Frankie's losses are to champions or #1 contenders. And while it's not necessarily his fault, Chris Gutierrez has never fought anyone near the level of Frankie or even half of his opponents. With that being said, Father Time's going to come for everybody. And I think this looks like Frankie Edgar's last fight. I think he'll have early success and then eventually be KO'd. The bet here, though, may be that takedown prop bet we keep talking about with Bet Online once that drops, because I think Frankie will get the takedowns. I just don't know if he's durable enough to go 15 full minutes with somebody who hits as hard as Chris Gutierrez. So we'll see when those props drop. WeWantPicks.com/bets. If you sign up using our link, I'll send you $50. Gutierrez is the pick, but the bet might be on Frankie. Then we got Dustin Poirier taking on Michael Chandler in the feature fight. Dustin Poirier is the former interim lightweight champion before losing that belt to Khabib. Since then, he beat Dan Hooker and Conor twice. Dustin's an excellent boxer with high fight IQ and a BJJ black belt. His striking is very clean, where he keeps distance, then steps in with that long jab. You could argue that he changed MMA striking with those calf kicks. And that success against Conor really had a lot of people looking at what they're doing with their low kicks. Dustin averages around 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, but his accuracy is a low 36%. He's coming off that title loss to Charles Oliveira, where he was outstruck and ultimately submitted. Michael Chandler's a very good wrestler who likes to strike. He's got a ton of power, solid pressure. He's got really no kicks, but he is a threat to wrestle. He's at a point in his career where he fights for bonuses and not championships. He has an all-timer against Justin Gaethje, was a perfect example. He had a takedown. He could have pushed that game plan, but instead he decided to slug it out. He's coming off that win over Tony Ferguson, but a lot of people are forgetting that he lost that first round. Literally lost it on the judges' scorecard before he got his KO. Everything in me wants to pick Michael Chandler. He's got power. He's got wrestling. He's athletic. But I also can't trust him to fight to win. I can trust him to slug it out. I could trust him to get me my $75 pay-per-view money out of it. But I can't necessarily trust him to shoot takedowns and keep his hands up. So because of that, I got to go with Dustin. Because I think Chandler's the more dangerous fighter, but Dustin's going to be the smarter fighter, the more composed fighter. And Dustin is focused on his career, and he's trying to win a belt here. And how could you not pick that guy in a matchup like this? So Dustin Poirier is the pick, but literally because Michael Chandler can't be trusted to try to win a fight. But he can be trusted with your money, because this dude's going to be a ton of fun, and this might be the fight of the night. Speaking of fight of the night, we got Carla Esparza coming off the greatest female fight in history, and she's fighting Weili Zhang in her first title defense since getting back her title. Carla Esparza is a very good wrestler that has 44 takedowns in 14 fights. There's zero questions about what her game plan is going to be in a fight. She's short and she likes to shoot doubles under other people's jabs and strikes. Her striking isn't great, but she does use it well to close the distance and get her grappling range. Carla has okay top pressure, but not as good as you would like, and that's why she's got so many fights with more than 4 takedowns, because she can't really keep people down when she gets them there. She's coming off one of the most boring fights in UFC history, but she did manage to get 2 takedowns and win her belt back. Weili Zhang is a striker who has evolved into a true mixed martial artist. She's got very real power in her hands and lands an impressive 6 significant strikes per minute. She's added wrestling to her game plan and has 8 takedowns in her last 2 fights. She's coming off the win over Joanna Jędrzejczyk, where she had 3 takedowns and the eventual second round KO. But before that, she lost her rematch with Rose Namajunas because of a few botched scrambles. And like all Carla Esparza fights, this is going to come down to takedowns. I am 100% certain Carla is going to come forward and start diving at legs. But with less confidence, I don't know if she's going to get them. She was able to get 2 takedowns against Rose, but she missed 9 attempts. Wei Li is an incredibly high-level athlete, and she knows exactly what Carla's game plan is, and she's preparing specifically for that. Wei Li is the more dangerous fighter, and the only real risk to her here is that she gets taken down. While the risk to Carla is that she can get knocked out or she can get taken down. Carla's got great takedowns, but not great takedown defense. We just saw this happen with Grant Dawson and Mark, the Olympic wrestler Madsen. Grant Dawson got the takedowns, got the control time over the Olympic wrestler. I would not be surprised if we saw Wei Li doing some of that here as well. Go out, wrestle the wrestler. So I expect Wei Li to win this fight. She's absolutely the pick. I love Carla Esparza. I've been picking her for years. I'm glad she got her belt back, but I think she loses it very quickly in this fight. And then we got the main event of the evening, one of the most interesting main events we've had in a while with a really cool narrative. We got Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. Israel Adesanya, and he's working his way towards middleweight GOAT. He's obviously an amazing kickboxer who at middleweight looks almost unbeatable. He times his shots really well. He's a great counter striker with a solid chin. He'll literally roll his shoulders, bob his head, while his opponents are just throwing volume and then mostly missing, and then he'll fire right back with short hooks and straights. His takedown defense is solid at 78%, but the upper echelon have been able to take him down. Whitaker, Jan, and Marvin Vettori were all able to do it multiple times in their fights. Alex Pereira is a very high-level kickboxer who we all know has beaten Izzy twice, once by knockout. He's got great leg kicks, great body kicks, great power, and everything is well-timed and well-distanced. He's been very public about hating MMA. He literally said, I hate MMA, I hate training for MMA, but I'm here to beat Izzy and win that belt. But he's become pretty well-rounded despite his hate for MMA. He's been taken down twice by Bruno Silva and twice by Andreas Michailidis, but he got up all of those times, maintained a 73% takedown defense. Alex Pereira is a dangerous striker, and he might be the most dangerous striker in the division. If I have to critique him at all, it's that he trusts his chin. If you go look at that Bruno Silva fight, he was getting hit, and he hung in that pocket, and he fired back, but you know, a lot of these fighters trusting their chin with the MMA gloves is very different than the kickboxing gloves. But so far, no issues whatsoever. What makes this fight so tricky is that these two have already fought twice. Alex won both of those fights, the first by decision, the second by just clean knockout. But that was in kickboxing, not MMA. But the other problem is, does that even matter? It's not like Izzy uses his grappling. He has 3 takedown attempts in the UFC with 0 takedowns. Alex Pereira also 0 takedowns. Alex Pereira is training with Glover, so I imagine he's getting the grappling in, the BJJ in. But, you know, I would be surprised if he looked for any takedowns at all. I'd be surprised if either one of these guys looked for takedowns. And it's just tricky because Alex is the one who won this fight by knockout. Izzy could go either way. He could come out trying to prove something. Right? He can come out striking, trying to win that back, trying to prove I'm the better striker, despite what our last fight said. Or he could come out and say, welcome to MMA, and then start diving at legs. And we just don't know. But we do know that these are 2 strikers. They've already fought, and Alex Pereira won that. What I also know is it's insane to pick the 24-fight veteran, the current middleweight champion, the person that people are saying is probably the middleweight GOAT with a few more wins, right? He's got to pass Anderson Silva against a dude with 7 fights. It's insane. And it's not like Alex Pereira is an amazing wrestler and Adesanya has a weakness in wrestling. We got 2 great strikers, and one of them's one of the greatest MMA fighters on the planet. Some people say pound for pound, the best fighter on the planet. This is just so damn tricky. I'm going to have to pick Israel Adesanya. I'm going to have to pick the current middleweight champion of the world to beat a dude with 7 fights. I'm going to have to do that. I know this. This is essentially the 3rd fight in this series, and he's already lost 2 of them, but I have to. It is still MMA. While there might not be takedowns, there could be cage control. There could be some things that work to Izzy's advantage. So Izzy's the pick. Right now, the bet that I have that I did place a few months ago was under 4.5 rounds. I got that at plus 150. That did drop a bit to plus 140, so I got some decent value. Nothing crazy. It is 2 strikers. Alex Pereira did knock out Izzy in their last fight. I could see Izzy wearing down Alex. I don't know. I saw it at plus money. 2 strikers. They fought twice already. One time was a stoppage. So The money went to the under on 4.5 rounds. Become a premium member. Become a premium member. Not only does it include a DraftKings optimizer, you get all of our bets, all of our picks, confidence picks, FanDuel plays, Prize Picks plays, Underdog Fantasy plays, Monkey Knife Fight Knockout Kings. You get all of this for $10 a month. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. And then, of course, if you want $50 for free, the only thing you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners, make a deposit, and I'll send you $50 as a thank you. Like, subscribe, do all the things. We have fresh content 7 days a week.